The Obama administration did consider a cyber attack in retaliation. But, Erica, multiple sources say that there was no precedent for that, and it could have made the situation much worse.
So, Jeff, what was the Obama administration's reaction to the Russian interference when it was first made aware of it?
Well, of course, there was great concern from what we're hearing, but this was something that the administration was really struggling to respond to, trying to figure out the right approach to this, because in a lot of ways there was no precedent for it. And it was unprecedented how the Russians had interfered in the election. And so there had over the years, over decades really, been signs of Russian interference, but nothing at this level where there were a combination of cyber attacks and then the disclosure of damaging information. And it was clear to investigators and to the intelligence community ultimately what Vladimir Putin was trying to do, and that was to put the finger on the scale in favor of Donald Trump and to damage Hillary Clinton. And so the Obama administration, in the final weeks of the administration, really had to grapple with how to respond appropriately to this without causing it to get worse.
But if they knew about the interference back in August, why wait until after the election to take action?
Well, and that was the dilemma here. Do you want to carry out some sort of response that interferes with the U.S. election and then face accusations of your own type of meddling in the campaign? And so this is the type of internal struggle that was underway. And this is the type of struggle that we heard a lot about in those days. Last year, we had intelligence sources telling us that they were aware of the hacking activity by the Russians and telling us that there was no type of response to that. So there was a great deal of frustration, and now it's the kind of information that is now coming to light that the public is finding out. But behind the scenes in the U.S. government, in the intelligence circles, there was a lot of concern about what was happening and how it was happening.
All right, so we know that while still in office, the Obama administration laid out a fairly aggressive plan against the Russian government, but it was unable to execute it before the transition. So what can you tell us about that?
Well, this is about a package of cyber options, and we were asking around at that time, well, what is the U.S. going to do to respond to Vladimir Putin and this Russian interference in the U.S. election? And so there were options given to the president. But those options never really developed in a way, in the way that the administration had hoped. Many in the administration had hoped and planned for. In a lot of ways, it was just the perfect storm of a lack of response. There were the political factors that were in play here that had to be considered, and some other factors as well that had to be considered in terms of how do you respond to this type of interference. Keep in mind, Erica, this is the kind of interference this country has never seen before, and that is in part what led to some of the frustration that we were hearing about and that now the public is really learning about. And still going forward, there are many in the intelligence and law enforcement community, former and current officials, who feel like there hasn't been an appropriate enough response to the Russian activity, which concerns many going forward, especially as we head into the 2018 midterm elections.
And of course, Jeff, we keep hearing that the Russians are trying to potentially interfere in future elections. So what is being done to protect against that?
Well, there are states across the country that are now trying to shore up their voter databases and their election systems, but there is still a long ways to go before these systems are secure. And then once they're secure, how long before the technology that they put in place essentially becomes obsolete? So this is a major issue, and you've heard some of the testimony on Capitol Hill as part of these investigations that the House Intel and Senate Intel committees are carrying out, testify to the fact that this is a really complicated issue that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. And right now, there are many who think it is not being addressed appropriately ahead of these elections.
All right, Jeff Pegues for us in Washington. Thank you.